everyone, my name is Zach. I'm the founder of Inspire Clothing. We're here today at Indian Punch Bowl by the Rappahannock River in Fredericksburg, Virginia. This is a site that I come to often. It's a sacred ceremonial site for the peoples and for our ancestors. 500 years ago, our ancestors were come here to do ceremony and to practice medicine. This site is heavily, it's not maintained. It's fallen in disrepair. There's a lot of aspects of it that have been damaged. It's no longer maintained properly. But this is an important cultural and historic landmark, especially for our culture and our peoples. Today I'm here mainly because I've had an upsetting week, and whenever I'm upset, I like to come to spots like this to connect with the ancestors and to try and find my peace. So we've had a very eventful week with a lot of negative things, unfortunately. So I've been feeling a little angry and upset. And when I get this way, it's best for me to come out here and to try to retune myself and recharge with nature and things like that. Also, you know, as a modern day Native American, especially with the mixed background with the European and Native side, you know, a lot of people don't know my mom is Native American, my dad's white, but he's also mixed Native as well. You know, I have this constant clash where I need to, you know, I'm trying to understand my place in the world. I'm trying to understand my history. I'm trying to understand how we got to this. And I'm trying to live close in connection with my ancestors. A lot of people overlook that. You know, it's important to understand how your ancestors lived and what kind of struggles and challenges they went through as a people, so that you can actually relate and as a modern day person and understand, like, you know, we kind of go through the same things, even though it's a little different. And so with all that being said, I came out here today mainly just to smoke some weed and chill and also do some prayers. A lot of people need to understand Native American culture. There's aspects of our culture that's heavily misunderstood, and you know, there's a lot of things that are shared amongst tribal and tribal identities, but there's also things that are now just native by what we call pan-Indianism. The idea that as a displaced people and as a people whose culture has been attacked and disrupted, we have to rediscover things, we have to reconnect. And so sometimes we find ourselves working across tribal or ethnic identities. You know, Native American is a broad ethnic group. There's over 500 languages that were spoken on this continent prior to the arrival of the European. So, you know, it's not like when we talk about Native Americans, we have the larger aspect of things of our culture, but we also have the specific things of our culture. In Virginia, prior to colonization, there was 3 major language groups. You had the Siouan-speaking Manahoac peoples, you had the Cherokee in the southern part of the state, and then you had the Powhatan and other Algonquin-speaking tribes who were mostly united under the leadership of Chief Powhatan. You know, in Fredericksburg alone, there was 3 native villages. That's actually why the city of Fredericksburg was built here along the Rappahannock River, because they noticed there was 3 villages. There was a lot of occupancy along the river. Those villages, the 2 I know off the top of my head was Hassawaga, and then Shakakonia. There's also another 3rd village, but I can't remember it off the top of my head, unfortunately. We're near where Hakasa would have been, Hakasagwa. And this site here, like I said, the Indian Punch Bowl was an important site here along the Rappahannock River. One big aspect of Native culture that everyone must understand is tobacco. Tobacco, sacred tobacco, is it's not a drug, it's not recreational, it's a medicine. You know, we smoke tobacco in a ceremonial context. We don't, you know, the idea of cigarettes and having to smoke a cigarette before and after things, that's a colonized commodity aspect viewpoint of tobacco. The ancestors smoked tobacco because we believed that it had healing properties that had to do with the blood and with healing like colds and flus and stuff like that. But we also knew that as we smoked sacred tobacco, as the smoke went up to the sky, it's carrying our prayers and our wishes and our dreams to the Creator up in the sky. That's what it's about, for real. And so I try to teach all the kids out here with Inspire, because, you know, Inspire, you know, we're a street clothing brand, we're weed influencers, we're all that, but at the end of the day, we're a Native American company. So I try to teach the wisdom of our ancestors to the kids so that they can understand. And so a big part of our culture at Inspire is tobacco. But not smoking cigarettes per se, but the sacred and ceremonial use of tobacco. So we'll smoke tobacco out of the bowl, and we already did before we started filming. But we also will take tobacco occasionally and we'll throw it over our shoulders for a blessing. This is Virginia lemon cured tobacco, so it's very strong. It's all natural, there's no additives. So this is pretty close to what the ancestors would have smoked. That's why I like to order it from whole leaf tobacco. Alright, I crumble a little bit in my hand, and we'll take it, take a moment of reflection, and you throw it over the shoulder. I'm going to put some tobacco in the punch bowl for the ancestor. Another important aspect of the culture is not just tobacco, but it's cornmeal. This is fresh ground cornmeal. It's been prayed over, so this is technically the bag. We don't cook with this bag. We use it for primarily for prayer. I have a separate bag that I cook with for making tortillas and stuff like that. But you know, corn is sacred. It's actually a big part of Native culture. And in the East Coast complex, all the tribes, we heavily cultivated corn, squash, and other plants, but corn was a mainstay crop. Corn is used in almost all ceremony and ritual. It's important, it's sacred. So I'm going to take a little bit of corn as well and throw it over the shoulder and put some in the punch bowl for the ancestors. We also noticed when we came here that there was a dead snake chopped in half by some asshole right behind the punch bowl. I'm going to throw some cornmeal over the snake just for blessing, and also so the ants and other insects can start decomposing it faster. I feel bad for the snake. Oh. It doesn't even look like it was a poisonous snake. It looks like it was a regular ass black snake. Leave those alone, guys, for real. We'll come out here occasionally to smoke and to kind of just find our zen, like I said, connect with the ancestors, try to understand them and their way of life a lot easier. You know, as a Native American, we have a displaced culture, so you need to understand that, especially with the mixed racial aspect things. Our culture has always, for the majority, been passed down through word of mouth, through an oral tradition. You learn from the elders, they teach you, you pass it on to your kids. But because of the oppressive colonialization and systematic racism of early colonial America, as well as, you know, even into today, honestly, a lot of our culture has been destroyed, hidden. We've been separated from our elders, and we've even lost our language and some of our customs. Even the fact that I'm speaking English right now is a testament to this. You know, my ancestors didn't speak English. They spoke Algonquin. I don't even know Algonquin. I know only a few words. So it's sad. It makes it's something to reflect upon. Especially when you see other cultures like Chinese people, Indian, Middle Eastern, Jewish, whatever, they have their culture. They can reconnect. They can, you know, we don't have that because of systematic laws that were put in place to prevent us from speaking our language, wearing our clothing, and practicing our culture. So that's a big issue, and that's actually caused generational trauma and issues. So even today, we have people who are lost in their identity, lost in trying to figure out who they are and trying to understand where we're going in the future. That's actually a big issue in why drugs and crime and violence in Fredericksburg, whether the elders, you know, whether the powers that be realize that or not, a lot of these kids out here are lost. And it's not because of bad parenting or something like that. It has to go with the backbone of having culture. I'm a firm proponent of the idea that culture is a compass and that it guides you in life. If you don't have culture, you have no compass, you have no ethics, you have no code. So it's important that we maintain our culture and try to preserve it to the best of our ability, or revive it in certain ways, so that we can prevent these kind of things from happening to our people. We're not gone, we're not extinct, we're still here. A lot of white people and black people are Native American and don't even know it, and stuff like that. And I'm also gonna, you know, I'm mixed race. A lot of people assume I'm white, but my mom, like I said, is a person of color. When you have that kind of mixed racial background, it can be confusing at times, you know, what your identity is, who you are. And then even when you have other racial groups or powers above you telling you you're white, or you're not Native American, or this is not what it is, and that can add more to the confusion. I don't believe, for me, being Native American isn't about what your skin tone is or how pure-blooded you are. It's about the culture. And going back to the whole idea of genetics and stuff, Native Americans and black people are the only people in the world who are described in law, legally, by terms of their blood purity. And the only other situations where this occurs legally is with the discussion of livestock. So black people and Native Americans, especially with like the one-drop rules from segregation times and Jim Crow, to even like in the Constitution, black people are only 3/4 of a regular person for the terms of census and stuff like that. This is all about how this goes back into the reflection that when the Christians and the Europeans came here, they viewed us not even as actual people or equals. They viewed us as property or as animals. And we still fight that today. That's why a lot of times Native culture and practices are often looked down upon. We smoke mad weed, we smoke mad shit. You see us smoking all the time, the peace pipe. Everyone that smoke, like, we're not out here hurting no one, you know what I'm saying? That's part of our culture. We smoke, you know what I'm saying? There's no one ever bats an eye over a cigarette, but if you pull out a pipe to smoke, suddenly it's weird. But that's a stigma that, is introduced from, it wasn't like this around the turn of the century. In the 1900s, everyone smoked. People smoked weed openly in the 1900s, before the drug war. So, riddle me that. It's just these things that we're fighting constantly. So, I came out here today, like I said, to educate people about this and to show them this site and to do prayers and blessing, because this is what really matters. None of the other shit matters, yo. Money doesn't matter. Bitches doesn't matter. Power and respect, what really matters is the culture we practice and how we view the world. And once again, Native Americans lived in tune with the environment. When you talk about climate change and all these things, we lived very in tune with our environment. So, and that only comes because we had a culture that respected nature and tried to learn from nature. We're out here barefoot today. We're not afraid. You know what I'm saying? We're just trying to reconnect. But I urge everyone to look into their history and try to rediscover their roots and understand where they come from, and to take some of these things we said to heart today. That's all I got, really. But go inspire, team inspire.